In this lesson, we'll use thinking particles and a cloner object to create a school of fish for the reef scene. We'll create an emitter that will allow the school of fish to loop around a spline. We'll then cache out the animation and bring it into the reef scene. Alright, let's go ahead and create our school of fish. So I'm going to create that in a new scene. I do want to grab this reef train to use as a reference, so I'm going to go ahead and click on that, copy it out, and let's go to File, New Project, and let's paste that in. Alright, so we have our reef. So the first thing we're going to do is create a spline that we're going to use to have our fish travel around. So let's do that. Let's go up to our spline menu, grab a spline pen tool, and here in the perspective view we can just loosely draw this loop that we need. So I'm going to just hover right above our reef, that way we don't hide the spline here while we're drawing it. So I'm just going to click and just quickly draw this out. It's just going to be a simple quick loop like so. Let's press the escape button to exit out of the tool. Let's go back to model mode and let's just rotate around a bit. Just grab the spline by itself and let's move this with the move tool to the front of the reef and just drop it down a bit like so. Next we need to attach a null to this spline. We're going to have the fish particles follow that null around the spline. So let's go up to our primitives menu, grab a null. Let's call this null follow. Let's right click on it. Let's go to animation tags and grab an align to spline tag. If you go to our attributes manager, you'll see that we have a few parameters here for the align to spline tag. We're interested in the spline path field. So let's grab the spline and click and drag it into the field. So now you see that our null jumped to the beginning of the spline. And if we animate this position, we can see the null moving around the spline. So that looks great. Let's make sure our timeline is set to 600 frames, and let's double click on this timeline bar to expand it. At frame 0, let's set a keyframe for the position parameter of the align to spline tag. Let's go down to about frame 350. We can type that in manually, 350. Let's bump up the position to about 100%. Let's set a keyframe. So now let's play this back and we have our null slowly easing in and then coming up. We want to get rid of that ease in. We just make that animation linear. So let's go up to Window, down to Timeline, click on Align to Spline, and let's go ahead and click on this little icon here to make it linear. Okay, so now it should just come in and start up. Perfect. Let's go ahead and create our thinking particles. Let's hide the reef for now. Let's go ahead and just click on that top traffic light and make it red to hide it. And let's go in a little closer. So there's no button to make thinking particles. We actually have to create that from scratch. It's a little more work, but there's a lot more control with thinking particles. So it's well worth making this. So you got to think of it as an a la carte type of particle system. You create what you need. The first thing we need to create thinking particles is something to attach it to. So we're going to go up to our primitives menu and let's grab a null. Let's call this null TP, which stands for thinking particles. And let's right click on this and let's go to our programming tags and let's add an espresso tag. Okay, so in here, if you don't see this espresso editor pop up, just double click on the espresso tag and it should pop up. And here we can right click. Let's go to new node, thinking particles. Let's go to TP generator and let's grab a P storm emitter. Okay, and we'll see that we have something that showed up in our viewport. That's our emitter. And let's press play. Okay, we have particles, so that's great. Now, the thing about thinking particles is that by default, this doesn't move. If we try to move it, or if we try to use our rotate tool and rotate it, nothing's going to happen. Okay, we need to actually build the controls and attach them to the emitter in order for us to move this around the scene. So that's pretty easy to do. Let's grab this PStorm node and let's bring it to the side. Let's grab the TP null and click and drag it into the espresso editor. Let's kind of expand this a little bit by clicking here, dragging the node down a bit. And we have here on our left this blue square, that's our input, and on our right side the red square is the output. So if we just left click on this, go down to coordinates, go down to global position, and then grab the global position, that'll create a global position parameter that we can pipe into the emitter position. So now if we press play and grab our move tool, we can move the emitter around. Okay, so that's great. Now let's go ahead and create another control in order to rotate these around. So we need to go up to our output and grab the global matrix. And let's pipe this global matrix into, if we hover right above this input, you'll see that this pops up, and let's go down and grab the emitter alignment. Let's go down and press play, grab our rotate tool, and now we should be able to rotate our particles. That's excellent. All right, let me stop this. Let me undo that rotation. Another thing you'll notice is that if we go back to our move tool, we try to move this, it won't update. The only way this will update is if we press play. So if we do that, we can just move these and it'll update. Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and just move back. Let's bring this null while the timeline is playing here so we can see this update. Let's bring this back and let's put it in a position. We want this to be at the beginning of the spline, and then we can just rotate it around and rotate it minus 90 degrees. Let's just make sure that it's right in front of that spline. So I'm going to grab our move tool and put it right in front of it. That looks pretty good. I'm going to press stop. Now let's go ahead and attach our particles to our null. It's kind of hard to see the particles and the null. So let's grab our follow null. Let's go to the object tab. And for display, let's change this from a dot to a sphere. You can see here the null's now a sphere. We can just dial this up a bit to about 40 centimeters, and now we can easily see that null. So that's great. Our particles, they're pretty small too, so let's grab a fish from our extra fish assets. Go ahead and go in the final reef scene folder, and I already have it open here, so let's go up to window, let's go into the extra fish assets, the link to cache file. Let's grab this surgeon fish right here. So I'm going to copy that out, go back to our scene, and let's paste it in. Okay, when we paste it in, you'll see that we have this dialog box. This is asking if we want to make absolute paths to connect to the textures, and I'm going to click no. And I'm going to undo what I just did. Because we already have all our textures and Alembic files, everything organized in our folder, before I copy that in, I'm going to go up and first save the scene file into our final reef scene folder. So let's go to save project as, and let's just call this tp_fish school. So now, because we have that saved in that same folder, we can just copy the fish in and the texture will come in and show up. So that looks good. That's why we have everything organized. So let's connect our thinking particles to the fish. We need to grab a cloner object to do that. So let's go up to our MoGraph menu and let's just click on this icon here for our cloner object. Let's click and drag our surgeon fish inside the cloner object, and let's rename this to TP cloner. Now to connect the thinking particles to the cloner, we need to go up to our simulate menu, go down to thinking particles and grab our TP settings. And here we have a few parameters. We're interested in this one called particle groups. So right now there's only one group, and that's called the all group, but you can also create subgroups in here to control other particles, but right now we only have one particle, and this controls everything for our thinking particles. So we need to connect this to the cloner object. So let's select our cloner object, go down to the object tab and change the mode from linear to object. And let's click and drag this all group into the object field. When we do that, our fish will be emitted. They're pretty large right now, so we need to scale these down. We'll do it with an effector. So make sure that the cloner is selected. Let's go up to the MoGraph menu, go to the plane effector. Let's go to the parameter tab. Let's deselect position, turn on scale, and turn on uniform scale. Let's dial the scale down a bit. Let's go down to -0.45 and see what we get. Still too big. Let's keep going down. Let's try -0.85. And that's looking better. So it's a little slow here. You can see I'm clicking and dragging, but things are slow. So we need to grab the cloner, and under the object tab, let's change the instance mode from instance to multi-instancing, and things should start to speed up. All right, so we have a lot of fish in our scene. Let's go ahead and double click on our espresso tag, click on P-Storm. Let's go down to count and bring this down to about 50 for now. And let's go ahead and press play. Okay, so that's better. We have a lot less fish. They're starting to die off early, so we need to change the life parameter. Let's give this 600 frames so it can last the entire full length of our scene here. Let's also change the speed at which these are coming out. Right now they're pretty slow, so let's bump this up to 300. Let's change the variation of the speed to about 60, so they're coming out at different speeds. Let's see what we have so far. Let me minimize the editor here and play this back. All right, so that looks better. I think we need more fish in here, so let's bump this back up to 100. Now that we have more speed, things are looking better. Okay, so that looks good. All right, so they're not following the null, so let's attach them to the null. Let's go ahead and bring our Espresso editor back, double click on the Espresso tag, and let's bring our TP null into our Espresso editor. Now we need a new node. Let's right click and let's go down to Thinking Particles, TP Dynamic, and go down to P Position Follow. Let's put this here to the side, keep things clean and organized. And let's go to the TP node. Let's left click, go down to Coordinates, Global Position, and grab the global position. We need to pipe this into our P Position Follow. Let's hover right above our input. Let's go down to Follow Position. So let's see what we get now. Let's press play. And this should start following this null. Okay, and actually it's not, and I know why. So let's go up to our Espresso editor. So we need to have the P Position Follow talk to the P Storm emitter. For that, we need a new node. So let's right click. Let's go to New Node, Thinking Particles, TP Initiator, and grab a P Pass node. So if you can see, this also says all here for the P Pass. So if we go back up to Simulate, go down to Thinking Particles and bring up that TP settings again, you'll see that we also have our particle group called all. So this all group is what we're seeing here in our node. This is controlling our thinking particles. It's our root. So we need to connect all to our particle of our P Position Follow. And now we play this back. This should start following, and it's not. So I've made a mistake here. So let's go back to our Espresso editor, and we'll see that this TP should be this follow null. So we can just change that out. Let's go ahead and grab our follow null and just hover right above our node here, and it should change. And now we should get our fish to follow the null. Let me minimize our editor. You'll see it starting to follow the null now. Okay, let's make sure that it's going around. There we go. So that's better. Let's go back to our Espresso editor, and let's change the speed at which these fish are coming out. So click on our Position Follow node, and let's change this constant speed to be 250. And let's play this back again. We should start to emit a little faster. So I want them to stay right behind the null and not actually catch up to it. So that looks pretty good. That's a pretty good speed. All right, much better. So we need to break these apart now. They're all in line. So we can do that by adding a little bit of wind and using some turbulence. So let's go ahead and go back to our Espresso editor. Let's go ahead and right click, go to New Node, Thinking Particles, TP Dynamic, and let's grab a P Wind node, bring this to the side, and let's connect this to the P Pass node. And if we click on our P Wind node under the Parameter tab, you see that this is asking for some sort of object here in order for it to work. So we need a new null. Let's go up to our primitives menu. Let's grab a null, and let's call this Wind. Let's bring this null down to be with the other nulls, just to keep things organized. Grab the P Wind node, and let's click and drag our Wind null into the Objects field. And we see that something popped up here. And here's our wind. Let's bring this here in front. Let's just rotate this around. And let's go ahead and press play. And let's see what we get. Okay, let's click on the P-Wind node. And we can see if we dial the strength up to, let's say, 5,000, we'll start seeing our fish kind of just start flying off a bit. All right, we don't want the strength to be that high, so let's bring this back down to 100. Let's turn the turbulence up to about 5,000. Okay, we should start to see this. They're starting to move around a bit. So that's looking good, but they're still staying together. Let me stop this. To break these apart a little more, we're going to use a Thinking Particles preset that's included with Cinema 4D. If we go up to our Content Browser tab, and here I already have it showing, but if you just type in Thinking Particles and press Enter, you should see a Thinking Particles presets folder. Double click in there. Let's go down to Setups and find the one that says Interaction. Double click in there, and you should find one that says TP Particle Collision. Click on this, go back to your Objects Manager. You should see a TP Particles Collision null show up. And this has some Espresso attached to it. So let's bring this all the way down. Let's double click on this Espresso tag, and you'll see that this already has a preset built for us to have some collision for a fish and also some repulsion. All right, so let's go ahead and select our TP particle collision null. And let's see what happens when we play this back. All right, we have a couple of parameters here. If we dial the distance up, you'll see that our fish will start to spread apart a bit more. Let me close the editor. So we're getting this now. So there's a lot more spreading happening. Let's go back to frame 0. Okay, that looks much better. Now we need to change a couple things here. And we'll come back to our preset. our fish are still pointing the same direction. So we need to fix that. Let's go ahead and double click on our TP Expresso tag. And let's right click, go to New Node, Thinking Particles, and TP Standard. And let's grab a P alignment node. All right, let's also pipe this into the PPass. Select the P alignment node, and you should see that we have a parameters tab, a few settings in here. The one we need for the fish to start to orient correctly as they're moving is this type parameter. Let's change this from random to direction of travel. So let's play this back again. You should now start seeing them. They're facing the wrong way, but you can see that they're starting to turn. So let's make these fish turn the right direction. Let's grab our plane effector, and under the parameter tab, let's turn on rotation, and let's rotate this 90 degrees for the heading. And now they're all facing the right direction. Let's play this back, and now we're seeing them follow the null. So that's looking pretty cool. All right, they're starting to congregate a bit with the null, so let's go ahead and double click on our Expresso editor that we have on our TP null, and let's grab the P position follow. Let's change the constant speed to something like 230 so they're not catching up to the null. And then let's select the P alignment node. And here we have this laziness setting. Style this up to about 0.6, and this is going to act as sort of a delay. So when they start going up and around the loop, there's going to be a delayed reaction to them turning just a bit. Let's play this back and see what we have now that we change this laziness setting. And so they're going to go up, and they're slowly all going to turn instead of turning at the same time. So that's looking better. All right, perfect. So let's go ahead and select our TP particle collision null, and let's change the distance just a little bit more so we have a little bit more spreading, maybe up to 120. And let's play this back one more time, see what we have. Okay, so they're definitely spreading a lot more. That's looking much better. We also have a couple other settings like this bounce and repulsion. We can dial this repulsion back just a little bit so there's not too much repulsion between the fish. And the bounce, we can bring that down a little bit too. So there shouldn't be too much interaction between them. And let's see what we have. Okay, so it's very subtle, but there's a difference. Now I'm noticing one other thing is that they all have the same animation with the tail. There's no offset. So what we can do is we can grab our surgeon fish inside the cloner. Let's duplicate this a couple times. Now we have 3 of them. And let's select this top surgeon fish, go down to the object tab, and let's change the offset to be -10. And now some of them will have some different animation. You can see if we click this again, only some will have that variation. Let's go ahead and select the other surgeon fish, and let's bring this down to -5. So now as we see them come in, they all have some different variation in their animation of their tails and fins. Much better. All right, let's bring the reef in. Let's go ahead and deselect this red traffic light, and let's just make sure that things are looking okay. As far as scale, yeah, that's looking pretty good. I like the size of the fish. I think these are a little bit smaller than the fish that we have in our scene, so it's going to look pretty good. Right, so there's a lot of fish still being emitted. So an easy way to cut down on the amount of fish is by just going up to our simulate menu, go down to thinking particles, bring up our TP settings again. And in here, we have this max particle setting. So this is a global setting to let thinking particles how many particles we want to emit. So it's just an easy way to cut down on particles. So I'm going to select this and I'm going to type in 50. Let's play this back. So when I play it, you'll see that we have this total number here that's showing how many particles we have in the scene. So when this hits 50, it should stop emitting. All right, so we're at 50 and the emission has stopped. Now if you don't see the particles stop emitting, you can always click on this force this setting. So this is a global setting that would just kill all particles. So for me it's working, but know that that's there. We go to minimize this, and now we should be ready to cache this out. All right, so one more look at this. I'm liking how that's looking. And I just noticed that, happy I just played that back, is that they're all the same size. So let's grab our TP cloner. Let's go up to our MoGraph menu and let's grab a random effector. Okay, now let's go to the parameter tab of the random effector, turn off position, turn on scale, and then turn on both uniform and absolute scale. And then dial this down just a bit to give these some variation in size. Let's try -0.45. Play that one more time, and we should be good to go. I love the way they're moving around. Alright, so that's perfect. Alright, so let's go ahead and stop this. Let's go back to frame 0 and let's grab the TP cloner, right click on it, go down to our MoGraph tags and grab a MoGraph cache. And under the build tab, let's bake this out. It should take a few seconds. And we have our cache. Let's make sure we get rid of this reef. We don't need this in the scene now. And we can turn off our random and plane effector and just confirm that this is cached, and they certainly are. Alright, so we have our cache working. Let's go ahead and group everything down here. We don't need to group our plane or random effector, but we can group everything else. Go ahead and press Alt-G. Let's call this TP_fish school. So make sure to save this scene out. This is our Thinking Particles rig, so we want it to be safe. Let's go ahead and go to File and Save Project. And let's copy our TP fish school out. And let's go ahead and go into our Coral Reef full scene. And let's paste it in. Okay, so when we do that, if we hit play, you can see that we're not seeing any fish. All right, so let's go up to our TP fish group. Let's select the cloner. You'll see that we have under our objects field, we have that all group missing. So all we need to do is go up to our simulate, thinking particles, grab our TP settings again. Let's click and drag our all group in here again. All right, so they should be in the scene now. I'm going to go ahead and go into our layers manager and let's turn off our fish clusters. I'm going to turn off animation and generators. All right, so let's just see what we have as they come out. It's definitely looking good. I think we're solid. All right, so now we have all our fish in the scene. Let's bring back our fish cluster. We can see them all together. All right, so we might have to just move our fish group, our TP particles, just a little bit back for now, so they're not in the way of the other fish. All right, so we're looking good. Let's go ahead and put our thinking particles in a layer. So middle click on our thinking particles and go down to layers, create a new layer from object selection, and let's call this TP_school fish. I'm just going to hide our spline and we should be good to go. In this lesson, we learned how to create a school of fish using thinking particles. We also learned how to connect thinking particles to a cloner object in order to use a MoGraph cache tag to cache out our fish animation. In the next lesson, we'll add a camera to the scene, and we'll also refine the materials we have and add some lighting for final rendering.